Hey, Robert, how's it going? Eddie Trunk here, and I want to congratulate you on your 4th season of the Talkin Bout Rock podcast. Thank you for being a fan of what I do. I greatly appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck with what you're doing there with the podcast, and keep on doing all that great work. Do your part to keep rock alive, and awesome that you are doing your best working with local and international musicians on the podcast. Great stuff. I will definitely check it out, and I wish you all the best on your 4th season and all the seasons going forward of the Talkin Bout Rock podcast. All the best to you, Robert. Keep rocking, man. Thank you so much for your support and continued success on the podcast. Take care.
Talkin Bout Rock Season 4 premiere. We're happy to bring you this exclusive new series, our new Rock Roundtable. Each week we'll have new guests and new topics to discuss with music industry insiders, musicians, and podcast hosts. We hope you'll enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the premiere of our Rock Roundtable series on Talkin Bout Rock. On each episode, we bring you 2 special guests to discuss topics that they work on every day in music, media, or the entertainment world. Each of our guests today will have a topic to discuss and debate at our Rock Roundtable. Let's meet our guests for this episode that we are very excited to have with us today. Let's say hello to Gina Juliano, VP of Marketing and Promotion at Unleashed Music. Hello, Gina.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Robert.
Yeah, so tell us a little about Unleashed Music.
Well, basically, we're a one-stop shop. It's where, when artists, it's like they record their music and they're like, okay, what do I do now? They literally have no clue. So I help them put a campaign together, getting their music out there. And the number one thing is don't throw all your music out on Spotify. Don't just put the whole album out. And a lot of them do that. I'm like, look, it's not new anymore. Right. We want to do, it's a singles game. And so I help them, get it on the DSPs, which is, like TuneCore, CD Baby. They distribute your music to all the streaming platforms, and there's about 150 different streaming platforms. So once you do that, I set up a whole thing where I help you get your single art together. We get you some photos, hopefully do a video, either a lyric video or a proper video. I basically help them with every single aspect of it. I'm not a booker of shows, but that's one thing that a lot of the clients want. If I can help you, I'll help you. I do know some people at the various venues across the country. So again, if I can help you, I will. But, and everybody wants a booking agent. I'm like, well, welcome to the club. That's the number one thing. And it's like, it's very difficult. There's a lot of difficulties, in this industry and the things we do. But basically, I help them through the entire process and help promote and best practices for social media and things like that.
Yep, a lot going on. All right, well, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. All right, and next, let's welcome back Pat McMahon, Managing Editor, Digital Content Manager, and Afternoon Drive Personality at Townsquare Media.
Hello.
You are wearing a lot of hats there, Pat, at Townsquare Media.
A lot of hats. But I love it, and I love where I work, and it's a lot of fun. And the best part about my day is being on the air and being on WBUF. Don't get me wrong in terms of my selfishness, but in terms of professional and all that stuff, I take a lot of pride in what we do digitally. And my essential role is to make sure that everybody on our team, because my company's a little bit different from other radio companies in that we stress local content and writing local content specifically, and page views and things of that nature. And that's what I'm in charge of for Buffalo. And then I run WBUF and I'm on the air, and it's a lot of fun. I can't complain, man. I have a fun job.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it. All right, so let's see what our guests have brought to the table today. Gina, let's start with you. What would you like to discuss today with the Rock Roundtable?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is everyone's like, "Oh, rock is dead." I don't think it's dead. I think I think that's the biggest thing I want to. Hopefully, Pat has run across that and can speak on it. But I just think, like, a good song is a good song. And I do find myself gravitating toward older music, but I still think there's a lot of good bands out there. And it's just a matter of finding them or bringing them to fruition, getting them some exposure and things like that. So I don't think rock is dead. That's my final word.
Yeah, Pat, your take on that?
I definitely don't think it's dead. It's certainly what I've always enjoyed about rock is how it evolves.
Mm-hmm.
Because right, we come out of the metalcore, the new metal, all that stuff, if you will, out of 2000s, right? And we kind of went into an emo thing, and that's still rock. I mean, it's not necessarily the same type of stuff, but it's still rock. Then we kind of had that pop rock, piano rock thing, and it's still all rock to me. It's just a matter of what's kind of trending now and what do we consider to be rock now, right?
There's different variations. I agree with you, Pat.
Yeah, like one thing we see a lot of right now, especially in radio, is just it's this, they're calling it alt country, which I think is fun, only because I don't think it's just what it is Southern rock. I mean, it really if anything, I think alt country, fine, if you want to call it that, call it whatever you want. I mean, but to me it's Southern rock or Southern rock core, because you got guys like Hardy doing a lot of
exactly
screaming.
Right. Hardy. I mean, that's a great example.
Yep.
And he's great. And that's the thing. And you'll hear him on our station, because we have 4 stations, and you'll hear him on 106.5 WYRK. And then you'll go down, well, I should say not down the dial, but further back further back to us, and we're playing it. I mean, it's him, it's Jelly Roll, it's I'm curious to see if Chris Stapleton is going to be a crossover guy. I think he is. We haven't gotten there for BUF yet, but I'm curious, because when you listen to these guys, I'm sitting there going, okay, yeah, there's a twang, but Greta Van Fleet uses twang.
Yeah, some of them have figured out like a formula how you can kind of live a little bit in both worlds, right? Yeah. And still kind of keep that audience for whatever side you're going to be.
Well, that's when it goes back to a good song is a good song. Yeah. Especially in the, it's like somebody could listen to Hardy and go, she's a country artist. I know, but it's like, have you heard Sold Out? Have you heard that song? Same with Jelly Roll. It's like, listen to some of their songs. Now, are all of them rock? No. But I think you're right, Pat, about the whole Southern rock thing. A lot of them do have that.
And I think, I don't, it's interesting seeing format guys talk about it, in the industry, because, and I'm sure you run across it too, Gina, is that they almost don't know how to position it right now or program it because it's this, I don't know, evolving thing, right? And it doesn't fit in the, right? Because programming people, as a programmer yourself, before Gina, and as a programmer now, but a bad one, but still a programmer. We all have these boxes, right? We all have these things that we put people and categories in, and you have to. I mean, because you're trying to program a station, you're trying to make it sound good and be
right. You're looking to reach your core demographic there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the hard part is admitting when your core demographic has shifted. Right. And I think in rock, we're seeing that a lot, just because, like, what's classic rock now? Yeah.
I think the one thing that's interesting to me is I see a lot of the newer bands, and they're incorporating all kinds of different things. There's like, maybe there's a little bit of dance in there. Maybe there's a little bit of harder core metal in there, and they'll kind of interweave it into the song. So they try to hit all the different areas to kind of see what they fit in more. I'm not sure what they call that now, if there's a term for that, when some of the bands do that. like Hollywood Undead and Papa Roach. They have songs like that where they interweave the heavier rock, and then it's some of the dance and some of these other things. I'm not sure what that's even called at this point, but I think that's almost similar to what's happening. It's like an evolving, changing animal. What, like you said, what is rock now, right?
And Pat, I think you can probably attest to this. Play the hits. When I was doing radio back in 2000, I've been doing this a long time. It was like, just play the hits. It's not my personal jukebox. It's like music for the masses. Play what they want to hear, whether it's Hardy or it's, Papa Roach or whatever it is. Play the hits. Play what people want to hear. Like you said, it doesn't fit in a box. It's not perfect. When I was doing alt rock radio, it was Tool, Disturbed, Metallica. I mean, that was alt rock. That was 2000. It's not like that now. It's a completely different animal. It is absolutely evolved.
And I think Metallica is like almost mainstream now. Yeah. Right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
No, it's true. And it's interesting, right? Because you play the hits. And I love people who are so passionate about bands and music, and they're like, why don't you play the good stuff? Why don't you play the B? Because nobody listens to the B-sides. Because most people get insulted. But I just had a conversation with a listener about this, and I said, it isn't because we don't care about you, or that I don't personally agree with you in terms of what a band's good songs are or what the catalog is and what it should be. It's, I think the default, and I use this with my team a lot, and I use this anytime I describe something like this, it's most people respond to that with, well, people are stupid and they don't know. No, people aren't stupid. They're distracted. They're busy, especially today. They don't have time to dig into an album the way they did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Right. If they do, oh my God, bless you. I mean, you really do love music, and you're really, finding out what an artist is about. But most people, they didn't have that much time to do it back then, and now they really don't have time to do it now. So they just want to hear stuff they're familiar with, and if they're not familiar with, it better be good. It better be something that they absolutely will gravitate to, right? So it is going to be a new Metallica song. It is going to be, if it's a newer band like Beartooth, it's got to have something that reminds them of what they like. And those are the bands that end up being successful, for better and for worse, right? Because there's all these amazing bands out there that they bust their butts, and they're incredibly musicians, and they have such a unique sound, but either people aren't ready for it yet because it doesn't remind them of something else. Yeah.
I think you hit on the head there. Their music has to make a connection with the listener in some way, or generate some type of emotion or memories of something. That's why they all gravitate to these older songs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But
I think too, a lot of these record companies will shove down stuff down your throat. You're supposed to like this. Like the basic audience isn't going to know that everybody wants the number one most added song on a Tuesday, which is ad day. They might give you and then it falls off the chart. It might get up there, and then you're like, it's not really a hit, because of a record company going, you're going to like this, but the audience is going to tell you, it's going to come out that is not a hit. You've got to listen to your audience. I think that goes back to what you said, Pat, that some of your listeners like, oh, that person's stupid. It's like, no, it's really like music for the masses, fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah. The deep cuts definitely, they don't get the love. Like you said, you have to be the big fan going for those. And I've heard that from bands playing out too, right? They can't play those deep cuts at their shows. They're going to lose their crowd, right?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. But yeah. No, and I think I love how people perceive music, right? Because like the perception is that radio's dead, Spotify is everything, and Apple Music is everything, and satellite radio, because satellite radio people are very loud. And by the way, I love satellite radio. I am a Spotify subscriber. I was an Apple Music subscriber. I switched to Android. Everyone panic.
No, Android is the way.
But the thing is they're great services. But I don't know about you guys, but how quickly do, like, Gina, when it comes to Spotify, your own personal list, like, you put them together, and some people are more involved with it than others. But like how quickly do you get tired of your own Spotify lists after a while, because it's like it's the same songs over and over and over again, right?
Yes, definitely.
And that's where I think radio and satellite radio and all these other services and well, AI to a point, I think we'll get into that later, but they come into play is it's just always interesting to me how people consume music and how they perceive music is done, and where it's coming from and what's the priority and that sort of thing. But sorry, side tangent, but
exactly. Okay,
Agreed.
Great. Okay, I think we discussed that one pretty good. Pat, is there anything else on your mind you wanted to bring up at the Rock Roundtable?
Talk about AI. Let's do it.
You want to jump right into that? Yeah,
I do. Right, because we're everybody in this conversation, everybody watching this conversation, and everybody in general are going to be affected by it. Like Gina, what in your industry and your expertise and everything you're seeing, like how has AI affected your part of the industry?
Well, I've just been, reading a few things, and it kind of made me sad that there's some programs out there, just online companies that are like, oh, do this and this, and you'll create a song. And it's like, that's so like generic, I would hate to see that people lose their creativity because of AI. I do a lot of press releases, and they're like, oh, just pop in a couple words and have them do your press release. And I'm like, nah, it's not really creative. Not saying that using AI is not helpful. I mean, it is in many instances, but I just hope that we don't lose the creativity in music, to keep evolving, like we've been talking about, things changing and progressing and moving forward and discovering new things. I hope that that's actually a benefit and not a hindrance.
What was your thought about the Beatles' new song or last song, right? Because that was heavily influenced by AI ultimately.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was great. I think it was, it ended up debuting at number 7. It's like you can't be mad at that. People love the Beatles; they always will, and it's not like it was like robot generated. Not
right.
Not saying that, but it wasn't like a robot singing. It was okay. They got some old material, and then they were able to process it and get it to be this new song, which is great, and it's done very well, and people are very excited. So I think that's a very positive thing.
I like what you said before about how you hope the creativity doesn't go away, because you're right. I mean, you can go to an AI bot right now and have Johnny Cash sing Taylor Swift, and it doesn't take much effort to really do that, right? And I think that's a good use of AI in terms of the Beatles example, right? Because it really did bring together something we never were sure we'd ever put together. I think what it scares me about it, just like everybody else, right, is not just the stunt of creativity. I think what scares me about artificial intelligence in the music industry is the labels, if I'm being honest with you. Because, okay, you're a label, you own Michael Jackson. Well, I know that I forget who owns Michael Jackson's library off the top of my head, but I'm just going to use that as an example. And you say, well, I want more Michael Jackson, so I'm going to have an AI bot because I own his rights and likeness and sound.
I think that's what we're going to exactly see. They're going to try and experiment with these artists that are no longer here. Yeah,
that's what's it does two things. It scares the ever-loving hell out of me, and it also kind of excites me a little bit. I hate to be that way, because as a fan, the idea of getting another Chris Cornell song, because I was a big Chris Cornell fan.
Me too.
Right? Or Soundgarden song or something like. I sit there
Temple
and I go,
Dog.
Well, yeah, a Temple of the Dog, right. The idea of getting a new Linkin Park song that wasn't recorded before.
Right.
Those things excite me so much, but is it ethical? Is it good? Is it right? Because it's a machine making a song. Yeah. And I can't, and I think ultimately I lean toward, I rather not be the case. Personally. I'd rather it just be when they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah, I think we'll see the experiment. Yeah, go ahead.
Someone did a Drake song. created a Drake song and uploaded it on Spotify and all the streaming platforms. And they realized it and they're like, you better take that down. You know, they ripped it off because somebody did that. They cloned his voice and did a Drake song. And they're like, nah, it's not happening. So you're 100% right, Pat. That's something to be afraid of. And I hope they don't do it. You know, I hope they disallow it. I don't want to hear a robot. I want to hear, you know, it's like, for example, when you find a new artist, you want to know, and you're a true music fan, you want to know everything about that artist. I look at their website, I look at their Wikipedia, I go to the Spotify, look at all, you know, listen to all their albums. If I love this artist, like I just discovered Rain City Drive. Mm-hmm. You know, I listened to their all their music, all their catalog, and I'm like, this is really good. And I realized it off of like a couple songs. And I wanted to read all about them, know where they were from, and this, that, and the other. You know, when you have a robot, it's like, it's not really going to help you.
Well, hey, it's running Windows 10 though. So that robot. So that's what you learn about it. It's really interesting. You know, can we talk about Rain City Drive for a second? Because I love their single "Talk to a Friend," and it's heavy, right? Is that rock? Yep. That's rock, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't argue with that. Some people would argue with it. They'd say, no, that's pop, or no, that's
no.
alt.
And you know what? I think it could go on alt rock. Well, the old alt rock, would I play, but the new alt rock, no. So active rock, yes. I think it's 100% active rock material.
Do you think that alt rock in 2023 is more geared toward a female demographic than a male demographic?
I do. You know, what's interesting is I'm out in LA and my good friend of mine and I always like listen and see what's on K-Rock. And I'm like, why are they playing the B-52's Love Shack? I mean, that really though, with K-Rock, it's an anomaly. Like they could play Barking Dogs and it would get good ratings. So it's a completely different conversation. But I think it's more female leaning. Honestly, I don't know. What do you think, Pat?
I really do, and I think that stations that are alternative, that don't lean into that or make, because I think you have radio's always 10 years behind doing anything, right?
Yeah,
and which it doesn't need to be that way. It's just always, again, people putting things in a box and doing this and that. And I think that what disappoints me about alt rock stations in 2023 is they just don't lean into the fact that, no, this is a female leaning station now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like women like rock music, women like alt music, own that. Like there's no reason for you to try and hold on to what the 90s were to alt.
Yep.
Let it go and evolve. And I've heard just so many alt stations, you know, that you'll hear new stuff and you'll hear, you know, I don't know why I bring Beartooth back up into it, because they could be active rock and they could be alternative. But, you know, if I play the new Disturbed song, my wife goes, and again, this is a very small sample. If I play the new Disturbed song, my wife goes, oh, no, I don't like that. If I play the new Beartooth song, she goes, yes, I like that very much, right? And it makes sense to lean into that on alt. But then when you're listening to an alt station, then you play the new Beartooth, fantastic. And then you go into STP. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You should be going into Fall Out Boy. You should be going into, you know, Panic at the Disco and things from that era, not going back to Stone Temple Pilots, not going back to the grunge era. That's where active rock and mainstream rock, which is my station, that's where we go. And
I really like your station, by the way, Pat. I checked it out.
Thank you.
Great station.
We're trying. It's when you don't have heritage in a market, it's always a struggle. So it really is. I always call it my baby station, because it's a little baby. It needs time to grow.
It needs time to grow.
It does. Nobody knows its name yet. You know what I mean? Sure. Like, and then they find it like, oh, I love this station. It's like,
well, you're getting it around. You've been at quite a few events. Yeah, you're getting the name around. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, you know, thank you. I appreciate that though. And that's what I find interesting about alt is, you know, and big markets like LA and New York always own it quicker, of course, and they should. But medium markets like Buffalo and you know, these places that you sit there and they go, you're still doing the same 90s. There's guys all over the air, or there's rock guys all over the air on an alt station that just played Billie Eilish.
Well,
You know
K
what I
Rock
mean?
is an alt rock station.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it. It's all, all LA bands like the Chili Peppers, Foo Fighters. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but
No.
it's like the older stuff. And then, then they put in Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger. And I'm like, what? The other day they played Two Princes. I'm like, where am I? You know what I mean? But again, that's an anomaly because K-Rock can do whatever they want and win every award and whatever. That's a different animal. But you're doing it right, though, Pat. I mean, it's like you're playing the hits. You're playing what people want to hear. And then it's just a matter of getting the word out. And that's what you're doing,
Yep. And it's a slow process, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I think that's the number one thing people don't always understand about radio is that a year in radio is 5 seconds to everybody. You know what I mean? And and it's been a year and a half of this station existing as it is. So it's been fun though, and I really enjoy it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna shut up now.
No, it's good. I mean, I was at a radio station in Louisville, Kentucky that it went away for a long time. It was like a hot AC, and then we brought it back, and we brought it back to life in a year and a half, 2 years, and it was amazing. It's an online station now. It went away, but we were kicking the ass of the heavy rock station or the active rock station, my little small wattage radio station, because we just sounded better. We played better. We played the hits. We had better imaging, things that you can control. Control what you can control, change what you can change, and everything else is there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah,
so.
That's the truth.
Yeah, I definitely like the format you're definitely going with, Pat. You play the hit songs and you're playing the newer songs so we get a taste. The folks that still want to hear those older hits, we're hearing those. And I've been speaking to people in the community here, and they're giving it a try, and they're liking it.
Well, thank you to all of them, and tell everybody. While we're talking, I mean, Gina, I know you represent a lot of bands, or you work with a lot of bands. I mean, who should I check out? Who should I be paying attention to?
Well, I've got a band that they're in the studio right now. Mm-hmm. It was funny because it was this producer referred them to me to do PR for them, whatever. I watched their video and I heard the new song and I was blown away. I was like, you're kidding me right now. It was like, I've never seen anything like it in 30 years. I've never seen anything like it. It's like it's this like heavy rock band that does like dance moves and they're wearing the same thing. And, you think of the Struts, but it's not like that. It's, it's very, I'll send you both the video. It's not out yet. We're going to, we got some people that were shopping it too. So hopefully they get a label deal and I'll let you know. But, so I can't really divulge that right now, but there is, a couple of other bands. Kings County, they just did a cover of 9 Inch Nails' Wish. Holy crap. It is so good. And I got to tell you, the reason that, maybe it hasn't blown up or gotten out there or whatever is people are ageist. They're not 20 something who are doing this. But this video they did for Wish is like, I mean, they must have spent like $50,000 on it. I'm not even kidding you. It was done at a penitentiary, an abandoned penitentiary in Virginia. It's haunted. It's incredible. There's like a flamethrower, and I mean, it's incredible. So I'll send it to both of you guys. I'd love for you to check it out, Pat. Do you guys have like a smash or trash or anything like that?
We don't yet. We've talked about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
We just haven't done it yet. Is all.
Right.
There's a couple of things that we've been talking about internally for 2024. Smasher.
Whatever you call it.
Whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
It's something we've talked about. We've talked about doing a local music feature as well. Just because I have experience with that, going back to my days in Rochester radio and highlighting local artists. Mm-hmm. Is it playing the hits? No, but it's a really cool community thing, and people really like that. You know what I mean?
It's important to do that, and I think and since you're trying to do the local thing, like you said, you have it's like you probably don't farm out your midday person to Phoenix, voice tracking, it's probably somebody who lives in the area, who's your disc jockey or whatever. It's like you try to keep it local. You're a local afternoon dude, and
which is an anomaly these days, to be
perfectly honest. It is an anomaly, but if you want to do a live broadcast at Billy Bob's, auto dealership, you can, and people can come out and meet you.
Yep.
And I think that's so important.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome to still be doing that, Pat. So kudos to you.
Thank you. It's interesting because when we first started getting out, not this past summer, the summer before, and I forget the concert we were at. We had the tent, we had the table, the whole classic radio setup, and the amount of people were just like, "Wow, there's a radio station here." I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Are you guys just probably like, no, I'm on the air, and he's on the air, and we're just here." They're like, "That's amazing. Nobody does that anymore."
Yeah, right.
Because and it's true. Most places have cut their promotional budgets, their promotions directors, and all that stuff. So we try to go a little old school that way because we can. And it's always a challenge, but it's a lot of fun. And I always shudder at people who don't want to get out there at least a little bit. I mean, you can't do everything all the time, but that's part of to me, that's one of the most fun things you can do in radio, right? Is get out and meet people and see bands and get to know people. And I'll check out Kings Country. That sounds awesome.
Kings County, actually.
Kings County.
But I'll send that to you. They've done their songs have done very well. They have millions of streams on YouTube for their videos.
Excellent. Yeah, we always have all kinds of new bands and that we're talking to here on Talking About Rock. Yeah, so if you have up and coming stuff or folks that are coming out with new material or they want to talk to us, feel free to send me whatever you have to go through it, and we'd be happy to speak with some of them. Sure.
Y'all keep an eye out for Little Liar out of Buffalo. Keep an eye out for Little Liar out of Buffalo. They're good people and good bands. So,
and I'll bring you my other band that I really think this is a number one song, a number one active rock song, and I've never said that before about anybody that wasn't already signed. I championed a lot of bands when I was in radio. I have 30 gold records. I've Linkin Park, Alice in Chains, whatever. I've got everything, which I'm very proud of, and I did a lot to champion these bands and help them, spin their record and whatnot. So I take it very personally. I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud that I went to all the shows and we broadcasted live. And I was never too good to pass out stickers and even being the program director. It's like that's what you do. You roll up your sleeves.
You were programming at Yahoo Music too, right?
Well, I ran the Yahoo Music department. I helped watch out. We kind of looked over all the radio stations. There was 150 streaming radio stations that we had, which was a lot of fun. So I did that for 6 years. And then I went out on my own. But, I loved FM radio. It was a lot of fun until it wasn't. I'm just the type of person, I have to love what I do.
Right.
For me, it's not like I can't just phone it in every day. If I don't like it, it's not working for me. Some people can just do the same thing for 30, 40, 50 years and they hate it, but they still do it. I'm like, that doesn't work for me.
No. Yeah, I think people in our business who are good with doing the same thing. I mean, not all of them. There's always exceptions to every rule. I always am worried about people like that because. Well,
yeah, you're right.
We're supposed to be a creative industry, a creative format. We're supposed to be pushing and trying to do better and trying to reach different people and do different things. And when people are like, I'm going to, back sell and front sell a song for the next third, I go, it's not really what we're here to do anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? It's 2020.
And don't back sell Nirvana, please. Don't back
Thank you. Thank you. Because I
knows that song.
I was once told something like that. They're like, why didn't you, how are people supposed to know? I'm like, it's Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
They know.
Knows.
Right.
I'm not worried about anybody figuring out who they are.
I want to say a side note, though. If you're in a position that you're in a medium that you can help other people, please help other people.
Yeah.
I did live broadcasts for the animal shelters, for the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, because I could. When 9/11 happened, I was in radio. We raised $22,000 in one weekend. People called in requests and they donated money. If you are in this power position, do something good. Do it. Don't be selfish. It's not all about what's good for you. So I just feel obviously very strongly about it. And, I think you're doing a great thing, Robert. This is awesome that you're bringing people together in the industry and talking about what goes on. And teaching other people.
Thank you. Yeah. So I wanted to mix it up a little bit. We normally do just the band reviews on the show, but I wanted to come out with some different formats. This will be on next season. It'll be dropping out, and we're going to, bring like-minded people together. We'll have musicians together. We'll have producers together, and talk about things that are relevant to them in their world to see what's going on. And I think people enjoy those conversations, discussing those things and kind of seeing what's happening, and they kind of get a little peek behind the scenes. This is what really goes on? Is this what they really do? Kind of gives them a little bit of an opportunity to think about that, and maybe, and a chance to, email us some questions themselves if they have some things on their mind, and get some feedback from some of our subscribers and listeners. So I thought it was something, nice to start. I'm so glad you guys, had the opportunity to join us to do this. I think it's definitely been great.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert, for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. Nice to meet you, Gina. And I will check out Kings County, and
awesome.
For sure. And I'll keep an eye out too for that video. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Robert.
Yep. So that's it for our premiere episode of Rock Roundtable on Talking About Rock. Thank you to both of our guests today, Gina Juliano from Unleashed Music and Pat McMahon from Townsquare Media. I'd like to also thank our returning sponsor, School of Rock North Buffalo. And if you have topics you would like discussed on the next Rock Roundtable, please email us at talkingboutrock@gmail.com with the subject line Rock Roundtable. And we hope you all join us next time for all new guests on Talking About Rock. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Talking About Rock is sponsored by School of Rock North Buffalo. Call 716-317-7625 to rock.